I hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to my channel. Well, today I'm going to finally make a dessert. Tonight, actually. It's kind of late for me to be baking, but I really wanted to make this cake. It's my mama's German chocolate cake. I'm only going to make a couple of changes. She uses a half cup of boiling water. Instead of that, I'm going to use coffee. And I use this. Oh, it's kind of late for me. I hope this video is okay. I'm already losing it. But I'm going to use this German chocolate bar, and I'm going to use about 1.5 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. I just like to add the semi-sweet. Right now I'm putting it in my double boiler. You can't see that, but I'm going to show it to you. But we got to get the move on because, you know, we don't want it to be too late. But this is a old family recipe. It's really, really delicious. And I made it last year, and I have about 4 German chocolate cake recipes, and I just kind of combined stuff last year, but I didn't write it down. So this year I'm going to write it down, and hopefully it's going to come out well. Some German chocolate cakes call for cocoa powder. This one does not. So that's why I like to add the little bit of semi-sweet. So I'm going to have all my ingredients measured. The first thing we're going to do is melt our chocolate and then let it cool, and then we're going to beat. We're going to separate 4 eggs in their room temperature. I'm going to beat the egg whites into a little stiff peaks. And then we'll mix the rest. So let's get started. And I hope you enjoy the video. And thanks for watching. Well, I have some water in here. And this is a steak that we're going to try to cook in the air fryer. I'm going to video that one day too. I can't do it today because I only have one camera. So I'm going to melt this. And like I said, this is the semi-sweet here. But it's just a little bit. And let's move over to the mixer. We'll start doing the egg white chips. I'm not gonna make a layer cake. I'm going to make a sheet cake. Layer cakes are awesome, and I really enjoy them. But I find German chocolate cake is easier with the sheet cake because the coconut frosting in the center. The German chocolate cake is so tender, and I find it's difficult to spread the coconut icing or frosting rather. On the layers. So I'm just gonna take the easy way out and do the sheet cake, and I like it better that way because I can freeze it better in my freezer. So here's 4 egg whites. I'm gonna start beating these. And also, my mother doesn't call for putting a little bit of sugar, but I'm gonna add just about a couple tablespoons of sugar just to get my egg whites really nice and stiff. So we'll start beating these like so, and I'll come back when they start getting frothy. I'm going to show you they're starting to get frothy. So while I have it on high, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 tablespoons of sugar and just kind of slowly drizzle it in like this. And so because it's so noisy, I'll be back. Get it up. Let me show you. This is my peak. So I think that's fine. So I'm going to take this out and put it in another bowl so I can use my mixer for the rest of the cake batter. Oh, I can get this out. And my chocolate's melting. So I'm keeping it on everything. And I'm brewed my coffee. Go ahead and sift our dry ingredients. And I have, you can use cake flour. I'm using, I found some white lily all-purpose flour. And it's usually pretty good for cakes or biscuits. But you definitely want to sift it. So that's 2 cups of flour, all-purpose. This is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And this is 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Oops, I've dropped everything today. And I'm going to just sift this. And we'll put this to the side. I'm still melted the chocolate actually. And you can see how lumpy this flour is, but it is a good flour. I'll just push it through with my hands. And sometimes I have to do this, and then I flip it over because my kosher salt doesn't go all the way through. Okay, so that's done. So we'll put that to the side. Next, we're going to go back to the mixer and beat our butter and sugar together. 2 sticks of real butter, and this is that Land O'Lakes butter, and I think it's salted. That's why I only put a 1/2 teaspoon of salt in the flour. And it's just the right consistency. Sometimes you don't want your butter too soft. It'll still work, but to get a really good creamy You like your butter to have just a little bit of body left to it. So we're going to put that in. Then we're going to put our 2 cups of sugar. And to be honest with you, I think this is about 2 cups plus about 4 tablespoons because I added some for those egg whites. So I'm going to put my paddle on here. And I'm going to beat this until it's fluffy. Oh, and by the way, I just kind of wiped out my bowl, but you don't have to wash it after the egg whites. You can just start mixing. So I'm going to mix this, and I'll show you when it's light and fluffy. Pretty light and fluffy. It did change a little bit light in color. My butter was probably about 65 degrees, so it was a little firmer than, but it's still nice. See, it's nice and creamy. So now what we're going to do is add 4 egg yolks. And I don't think you have to do it one at a time. Sometimes I just do it just to... And these are large eggs. I don't know if I mentioned that. Sometimes I bake with extra large, sometimes I bake with large. Let's mix this in really well. Because we want this nice and creamy. That looks good. Okay, you always want to scrape down the sides, which I don't have one of those paddles that what is it called? I don't know, call it the scraper beater. I didn't buy one. I had one for my 5-quart. I do have one for my 5-quart mixer, but I didn't buy one for this one. In my 5-quart, it would throw flour everywhere, so I didn't like it. Anyway, okay, let me get my chocolate and see if it's cool enough, and we're going to add that. I did not mention what sheet pan I'm going to use in this pan. I don't remember where I found it. Probably Walmart, probably, but I'm not sure. I love this pan. It's a 15 by 11.5. And for this kind of cake, it's just the perfect size because you have room for your frosting. So I sprayed it with Baker's Joy. So I'm going to be using this pan. And I always put it on another pan. I don't know why. It's just a habit. It's not going to go over. But let's get back to add all our chocolate. It cooled down. And so all in all, this is about a tiny bit over 5 ounces of chocolate. I always have to break the rules a little bit. I don't know why. So once we mix this in, then we're going to alternate the coffee and the buttermilk with the flour mixture, and we're going to be ready to bake. I should be using a different spatula to get all this chocolate out. I really like German chocolate. One time I made a German chocolate pound cake with a little glaze on the top, and it was one of my favorite cakes I've ever made. It was really, really good. Oh, I got chocolate all over my mixer. Now that's going to bother me. I'm going to have to wipe that off. I'll be right back there. So I'm just going to try to wipe that off. Wipe off the top. I'm one of those, you have to clean as you go. Like sometimes while it's mixing, I wash the dishes and stuff like that. So let's mix this in. Now it's going to turn pretty color, chocolate color. Mix it in really well. And German chocolate is not as dark as some, chocolate cakes. All right, let's scrape that down again. Because you want to get that really mixed together. And sometimes on these mixers you have to scrape that bottom up. You could also use a hand mixer, and you know what? It may be easier sometimes to use a hand mixer, in my opinion. You don't have to keep stopping and starting. You could scrape it as you go. All right, let's try this again. Okay. Let me scrape it down, and that looks pretty good. I'm gonna get my flour and my buttermilk mixture ready. Okay, I need to wash my hands. I have a half cup of coffee. It's not that hot anymore, and it's a little warm still. And I'm gonna put my cup of room temperature buttermilk right in here, and we're gonna alternate this with the flour mixture. I'm sorry if I seem to be going a little bit slow, a little confused. My mom didn't give the best directions on her cookbook, So it's kind of hard to figure it out, but anyway, I'm making it. So let's start with the mixing, and I'm trying to find the best way to do this. Oh my goodness! I did not have my vanilla extract. Y'all have to see this because that is one of my favorite things. Now, a lot of recipes call for 1.5 teaspoons. Some call for 1 teaspoon. Now, this is my favorite. I don't buy it all the time because, as you know, vanilla has gone way in price. But I don't want to measure this. I'm just going to add probably about 2 teaspoons. I like a little bit extra vanilla on almost anything I bake. I need to clean this bottle off. Okay, let's mix this in real quick. Okay, now we're going to start with our flour. And you know how you alternate the flour with the liquid. So I just pour a little bit of each at the same time. And I think the rule is that you end with the flour. I'll just show you how I'll do it the first time. And I think 6-quart mixers are louder than other mixers, but that's the one I have, so I apologize for the noise. I hope you can hear me okay. Let's add a little bit more flour. And I might have to stop and scrape. A little bit more liquid. And I'm gonna see if I need all of this liquid because I think I'm right. I think I'm gonna use all of it. Alright, let's add some more. Looking good. It reminds me, we have this cake on, my mom made this cake for every Thanksgiving and every Christmas. Let's dump this in. Alright, I just missed a little bit all over. So let's mix this in real quick. Okay, now we're going to beat in our egg whites. So let's put our egg whites in here. I'm just going to put them all in. And you just want to fold them in. And I have my pan on standby. So when I get through folding this in, I'll be back. I'm sure you don't want to watch me fold all this pan. It looks pretty fluffy. It looks like it's the right kind of batter. I remember it is the perfect amount for this pan. You could probably, I don't know if you could use I think you could use 9 by 13. It might just be thicker. I'm going to tell you what, this is not my favorite spatula. I just got it. I think I like it better for cooking, better than baking. But that's all I have right now, so we have to just spread this out. And I'm going to put it in the 350 oven, probably for about half an hour. But I'll let you know exactly how long. I'm going to try to get it not on the side of the pan like I just did. Oops, some of that's not mixed in. Oh well. I'm just going to try to get the air out. So I'm going to put it in the oven. It took about 40 minutes. My toothpick came out completely clean. I actually like to come out with a couple of crumbs on it. But it feels like it's just right. So this has to cool for a while. So I guess we're going to make the frosting. And that's going to take a few minutes. But I might have to frost this later for it to cool off. Which I'm thinking like the next day, but I didn't want to say that. But anyway, so let's make the frosting. It's been a little while later, but we're going to make the frosting. And some of my ingredients are a little bit chilled because I put them in the refrigerator. So I'm going to turn my pan on. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little intimidated by this frosting because sometimes I tend to get impatient and I curdle eggs. So let's say a prayer that this comes out well. So this is 1 cup of evaporated milk, not condensed milk, just evaporated milk. So I'm going to add that in. And I'm going to add in 1 stick, and this is that Kerrygold butter. Just look at the color of that butter. I don't buy it all the time, but I do buy it for like sometimes for good baking recipes. Put that in, and these are 3 egg yolks that I just kind of mixed around. I'm going to dump this in. I think you dump, it's kind of like a dump and stir. I'm going to be in trouble if I have to go to the bathroom or something. I'm gonna try to get, I don't know why I put them in this container. I started to add 4 egg yolks just to see, but I'm going to follow my mom's recipe. Now, you can also roast your pecans first, but I'm trying to keep it like my mom's, and she didn't do that, so I didn't do that. But we're going to add that last, the pecans and coconut. So just, and the vanilla, I'm going to add that last. Alright. Sometimes I hate when I see people scrape and scrape and scrape. So I have my fire on kind of like medium high just to get it warmed up. And I chose this saucepan because it's larger so I can stir. And I have this whisk with the silicone on the end so it wouldn't make noise. And I also have this spatula that I'm going to use. And this is 1 cup of granulated sugar. So I'm just going to let this heat up for a moment. And then I think I'm probably going to put it on a tiny bit lower than medium. And then my mom says about 12 minutes. And another recipe says about 5 minutes. So we're just going to go with what we think. But let's go ahead and mix this up. And I apologize if this video turns out too long. I kind of drug it out a little bit because I've been procrastinating making this frosting. And I made the most delicious German chocolate cake not too long ago. Well, it's been a couple of years, but... And I like to make this sheet cake. I find it way easier to cut than the layered cake for a German chocolate cake. But you could also make a layered cake. You could put chocolate ganache on it. You could do all kind of things, but I'm going to keep it simple. So let me get this heated up, and I'll be back. Using salted butter, but I'm going to go ahead and add just a tiny pinch of kosher salt. Everything's melted, so I'm trying to bring it up to a little simmer, but I'm not going to put it above medium, because that's what I usually do, rush and turn it too high, and then that's when your eggs curdle. So you want to be patient, and you want to cook this for a few minutes. You can tell when it thickens. But I have my pecans, coconut, and vanilla ready for when, and I'm using the whisk. I find that it's just easier to make sure everything's blended, and I can get the edges. You can use whatever you want, though. I like this whisk. So that's how it's going. It's pretty hot now. And I don't know if I mentioned, but you want to stir this the whole time. And I want to show you the pretty color because of that butter. But I can already tell it's starting to thicken up just a little bit. But just be patient, keep your fire on medium. And I set my timer for 11 minutes. It may or may not take that long. But I'll let you know how long it takes. 6 minutes. I think this is as far as I'm going to take it. So I'm going to take it off the heat. I think that's just right. Let me move the camera so you can see. I have to take it off the heat so I can add the other ingredients. So I'm sorry, I'm not that great at working this thing, but I'm going to get better. So let's add our vanilla first. I'm just going to add vanilla bean paste. And I'm going to add a whole teaspoon. Because I love this stuff. I know it's really sweet already, but I just can't help myself with vanilla. So let's stir that in first. I think this is just perfect. I'm so proud of myself. I was patient. And I'm going to also put this in another pan so I can cool it a little quicker. Make sure you get all that off. Sorry. Okay. Now, we're going to add 1.5 cups of, I'm using that Baker's sweetened coconut flakes. I'm just going to add that in. And I don't know if that's enough for me. I like a lot of coconut. And this is 1 cup of chopped pecans. I say pecans. Let me know how you say it. But I've always said pecans. I always will say pecans. I don't know. It's like it's so funny that when you hear, oh, I just flew through something on my... I just hope this is enough frosting to cover. My cake is quite large. That looks just right. This is going to be so good. I'm going to show it to you close up when I get it all mixed in. That burner is putting off some heat. I probably should have gone to the other side of the kitchen to do this. I apologize. I want you to be able to see. But that looks just right. See the thickness? And once it cools, it's going to get even thicker. So let me move you over. I'm going to put it into a dish. This Pyrex dish. I think it's got enough area where I can make this a little bit thinner and cool it. I really don't know if this is enough, to be honest with you. Now look, we're going to have to turn this around because I don't know how to do it showing. I'm going to burn myself, so I'm just going to have to do it the way I can't burn myself, which is, I think, oh, look, I can do it. I got to quit doubting myself, but I didn't want to burn myself. This looks amazing. I'm so excited. And you know, I have an idea. We'll never eat that cake, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze it. And you just take it out and let it get room temperature, and it's going to be just as good as the day you made it. Because I've frozen it before. Yeah, I might have to make another batch of this. I started to double it. Once I do that, sometimes I mess up. So anyway, I just wanted to stick with the original recipe. Since I hadn't made this in a while, and you want to get all of this out. This smells so good. I could just eat this whole thing of frosting, to be honest with you. Oh, look, this is going to be just great. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to make another batch. I hope I have all the ingredients. That's not enough. Anyway, it won't take but a second. Now, if anybody has any good ideas about what I can do with all those egg whites. Okay, let me... Okay, my phone messed up. Okay, let me just taste a little taste. Okay, that is so good. Okay, let's let it cool and I have to decide on another batch. But anyway, I won't make you watch that. Okay, well, here's 2 batches of frosting. Now, you could use one and spread it thin, but I like it pretty thick, and so and my cake is not the prettiest on the top, but let me tell you, it's really moist. It's going to be so good. This recipe is, I know when we would go to Christmas, meet the family, and my mom would make the German chocolate cake. It was the first to go every year. I'm just going to, since it's so thick, and you don't have to cook it as long as I did if you want it a little thinner. And if you don't use it all, you can definitely freeze this and put it on chocolate cupcakes or whatever. I don't want my cake to tear, so I'm just kind of making dollops around so I don't have to do a lot of spreading. And I don't know what I'm going to do I'm not very good at decorating. It's kind of hard for me to decorate a German chocolate cake. I might put some little pecans on them, but I'm going to spread this out because this is a little too thick. See, it spreads nicely, but I let it cool. And like I said, you could put it as thick as you like. This is a lot of cake too. This feeds a pretty big crowd. That's why I like to make the sheet cake rather than the layer cake. Seems like it goes a lot further. It's a little thin right there. So let me just finish spreading this. You can see how I'm doing it. And then we will be back with the next step. I just wanted to show you, I only have this amount left. I used almost 2 batches for this cake. You can get by with 1 batch if you make a layer cake. But we're going to decorate it with some pecan halves just to give it a little, what, Ella? What's the word?
I don't know.
A little character, a little pizzazz. Anyway.
Feng shui.
Taste test is next. Here's the German chocolate cake. Ooh. It turned out perfect. It's just right. And it's moist. And I have a pretty thick layer of frosting. Like I said, you don't have to put that much, but I like a lot, but not too much. But here we go. It's going to be so good because I already tasted it. My mom would be so proud. The cake gods were with me. because it's just perfect. Now, all I wanted to say was, first of all, please try this recipe. Now, I did change 2 things. I added those almost 2 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, which is totally optional. I like the little bit of extra flavor. German chocolate's really light, and the semi-sweet doesn't take it over the top. Actually, it does take it over the top. That's not the right word. But it doesn't
Overdo it?
It doesn't overdo it. You can still taste the German chocolate. And the coffee instead of the water, I really think you should do that. It just enhances the chocolate flavor. But the frosting is so good. I could eat like by itself. Anyway, I hope this video is not too long. Thank you so much for joining me. This was an adventure because it's my mom's recipe, and I've been talking to my mom for 2 days because I was like, Mom, help me out here because I haven't baked it in so long. But thanks for coming along with me. Please subscribe if you haven't. I love all you guys. I thank you so much. And join me next time for another delicious recipe. And thanks again for watching. And you have a great night or day.
Bye.
Bye.